Hello and welcome. You are listening to The Retail Journey. Today, we have the one and only Jack Ford, Vice President of Consumer Products at HART TTI, and we'll be talking about disrupting categories and partnering with Walmart. I'm one of your hosts, Charles Greathouse, and to my left, the better host, James Harris. We're glad you're here with us today.
Welcome to The Retail Journey, Jack.
Thank you, James. Charles, good to be here.
It's good to meet you today. Before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been in Bentonville for about 15 years and was doing Walmart sales and marketing even before that. So when I started working after college, was calling on Home Depots and calling on stores, and got an opportunity to move to Milwaukee for a little bit. And we were part of a Newell Rubbermaid division. It was a paint applicator, so paint brushes and rollers. Very exciting.
Yeah, there you go.
Sundries.
Great opportunity to move to Milwaukee from Dallas, and but our largest account was Walmart at the time. And after working there a while, I got an opportunity to move to Bentonville in 2005, basically doing the same thing, but at the sales office here. And so once I got here, I quickly realized we didn't want to be anywhere else. You know, great community. Mm-hmm. It's only gotten better and continues to do so.
15 years, there's a little bit of change.
That's right. A lot of change in Bentonville.
Just a bit.
And then, of course, I've done what maybe half of the community has done down here, and had an opportunity to try a couple different things with different suppliers. So after 12 years at Newell, I went to Johnson & Johnson, spent 5 years there on the OTC business, and really cool experience there about learning brands, national launches, and getting behind more consumer insights driven selling. And then I think what we'll talk about more today, I had a very unique run-in at the home office and was sort of pulled into the opportunity that was HART before it was even really an opportunity. It was very early days. I bumped into our global president, who this thing wasn't even started at the time, but he basically said he had a confidential partnership that they were working through with Walmart, and they were building a team here. And he said, hey, if you're ever interested in leaving Johnson & Johnson and just doing something different, and he put it a little bit differently than that. He was, maybe selling me a little bit on the opportunity, but he said, just call me, because we're going to be thinking about building out a team. And knowing him and knowing what the opportunity probably was in terms of just scale, I got excited, and it was a lot less about where I was and more about where I wanted to be. And I think it took me about 30 minutes, and I called him and I said, Steven, I got to know, man, what are you working on? And he couldn't tell me at the time what that was. He said, we're under a confidentiality agreement, and we can't really go through that right now, but let me get you signed into the NDA, and I'll see if I can call you maybe in a week or so. And the way that we work at TTI, if you take a week to do something, you're being questioned on why you're so slow. So he called me Saturday morning at like 7:30, and he said, all right, I called the lawyers. We got it signed this morning. We're ready to go. And from there, I had a job offer on Sunday, so it took about 3 days to get signed in. So got pretty lucky in when I met him or bumped into him, and quickly moved into the role and learned more about what was going to happen.
So for the listeners that may not be familiar with HART, what product categories are you in?
Yeah, we're a tool company. So HART is part of Tectonic Industries, TTI, and it's now the largest power tool company in the world. We have an industrial side, which is Milwaukee. That's our largest business, and really a big fuel for innovation within the industry, and certainly helps us on the consumer side. We also do a couple exclusive brands at Home Depot, Ryobi and Rigid. We make all of their power tools as well.
Awesome.
And so that scale, that expertise is kind of what instilled a little bit of trust with Walmart in terms of partnering to try to get a little bit more serious. And the terminology we use a lot with Walmart is trying to build credibility so that customers have a lot more trust when they're in the stores and online, and trying to choose what platform they're about to jump into, because the name of the game in this industry is getting into and I'm using air quotes here, platform or the network, because these batteries that run these tools, they work across a large, assortment of tools. So we want to get more customers early in their shopping journey, particularly young families who are maybe buying their first home.
Right.
They need a lawnmower, string trimmer, a drill, and then they're in our system forever, which is really the idea. But to answer your real question, it's power tools, but also outdoor lawn equipment, everything from mowers and blowers and to on the tool side, drills. We also do some other things within the brand as well, pressure washers and generators and things like that.
Okay. That's a fascinating concept. There's not a lot of categories that once you buy in, you kind of need to stay there.
Right.
For all of the materials.
It's a razor blade,
Yeah.
except the difference is, imagine if Gillette said we're only going to sell to Walmart, or and then you get a customer who's absolutely hooked in and has to go back to that retailer. So that the exclusivity of the brand is great for us because we want to keep people in it, the end user. But our partnership with Walmart is what really makes it magic and allows them to separate themselves from the rest of the market. And so there's brands out there that sell, across the entire market, but then there's a lot. Ryobi is a great poster child. Craftsman, you see them a little bit outside of Lowe's, but there's a lot of retailers that are trying to figure this out.
And why is that about this, the power tool category in particular, that tends to be, at least in large national retailers, an exclusive brand?
Yeah, it's all about eliminating the need for competition. It's such a comparative industry. There's no price chasing. So you have some brands that have either historically, because of their distribution models, they were kind of anniversaried into not having to do that. DeWalt is a good example. You can buy them anywhere. They're selling Amazon now. But then you have a lot of these brands who they've either started or decided to sort of go into a bigger placement into a more singular retail. So what you'll see, I think in some examples, Ego would be one. They do a lot of outdoor power equipment. You could find them a couple of years ago at multiple retailers, and they made a bigger bet at Lowe's, so you don't see them as much in other retailers as well. So
Is that how'd you say it? Ego?
Ego.
I always called it Echo.
Echo's also a brand.
Okay, so it's different than Ego.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was like, I don't have a ton of power tool experience, but I do
Same
it with
here.
HART, where I do now. And to your point on being locked into the system, had the Ryobi battery pack, and it had a Father's Day gift from however many years ago. Couple of tools, and it's way easier to just add something that uses the same battery, just from the price effectiveness.
Yep.
For me as a consumer, when Walmart got HART, I was so pumped to have real good power tools at Walmart. I mean, that's massively disruptive. I'd love to hear about the early days, the discussions with Walmart, and getting into taking something that really wasn't a big deal. Customers weren't coming to Walmart for power tools. In fact, you're probably still bringing customers in for power tools because now Walmart's seriously in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the early, sort of conversations around it really stem from the fact that I think Walmart was looking for something that allowed them to get away from the inconsistency of their battery changes in the past. So what happens is, whether it's a retailer changing because they're trying to get a better value for their customer and they change to a new brand, if you had bought anything in the past in the previous brands, you're out of luck. You're like, okay, great, Walmart. Well, I just trusted you to buy these tools. Now I can't even come back and get replacement batteries. Now I can't even come back and get another tool that works on that same
Gotta buy
battery.
an entirely different system.
Or you go to where they're selling now.
Yeah.
So I bought, X brand that works on this battery. Walmart doesn't carry it anymore. I'm just going to go buy the rest of my stuff on Amazon or another retailer. And that's really what's, Walmart's trying to avoid. And a big part of what we do, and we've done this, if you bought, as an example, a Ryobi drill 20 years ago and you need another battery for it, the batteries today will work on a 20-year-old drill.
That's
They're
awesome.
forward and backward compatible, and probably one of the cornerstones of our strategy is we never leave a customer behind, ever. So you can always trust that you will have batteries for the tools you buy today in the future, and tools that you buy in the future will work with any batteries you have sitting around in the house. And that's
Just
really
like how
important.
Apple keeps the same charging cord, from phone to.
Oh, wait. Yeah,
no,
opposite.
they swap that sucker out.
Yeah, that's
and people, it's a mutiny Because it's like, what do you mean I got to buy a whole different thing because I can't plug in? So you guys have taken the opposite.
Well, in a way, yeah. I mean, because we have, I mean, that would be one way to say that is like that's planned obsolescence. Like,
Yeah.
so I can't use my old stuff, so I'm going to plan it as a manufacturer. I'm going to plan out the future stuff to obsolete the old, so I have to buy new stuff. And we have to do that a different way. We have to do that through innovation. So
Yeah.
the only way I can get somebody to buy a new tool is if their old one breaks and they need a new one, or our new one is so much better
Yep.
than what they had in the past. Where we have a new tool that solves a different need
Yeah.
that's a little bit unique, and so that's where innovation is our way of, sort of overcoming that.
Yeah.
That's a good segue. Where in the power tool category or any other category that HART operates in, what is the process for innovation or new items?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's
Technology changes. What is it that drives the creative process?
It's the customer. And Charles and I actually talked a little bit about this yesterday when we met.
Yeah.
There's an amazing amount of data out there that can help you influence what types of products you should bring, how you market it, how you merchandise it. And, I'd say in general, we like to throw a lot of that out the window. The way you find out what innovation needs there are is you just go walk around a job site. You work with the trades. So on the Milwaukee side in particular, they spend a lot of their time, the product development teams and the engineering teams, they're spending a lot of time in the trades or at the vocation schools, and they're finding out like, what are you doing, or why are you using this tool that wasn't designed to do a certain project? Why are you using it to do this? And then, okay, well, let's come up with a better solution for that. So I think the acronym is like management by walking around. It's kind of that same thing, or
Walmart
MBWA.
CBWA.
Yeah.
Coaching by walking around.
Right. And so that's a lot what we do. We just spend time with the customers. And so we don't have to go do research to talk about purchase intent and all these other things, because we can say, look, we can create this tool. We don't need to tell you that the customer is willing to spend this amount of money for it. They just need it. And in the pro world, how fast you can do the job and how well you can do it with that tool is all that matters.
Yeah.
And it's a unique model because pricing also doesn't matter as much either. If you're building a skyrise,
Right.
I don't care if I have this new tool that costs $20,000.
Yeah.
I need it because it's going to drive 24-inch lag bolts to secure something.
Right.
I'm going to buy something that matters.
24
Yeah, that's
inch.
not where you cheap
Oh
out.
my God.
I just made that up. I have no idea if there's 24-inch lag bolts.
It sounded so cool. I was like, yeah.
As long
oh,
as there's
man.
not a fact checked on here.
If anybody listening knows if there's a 24-inch lag bolt, let us know.
Put that in the description.
It's interesting you mentioned Milwaukee, though. I have some relatives that are glazers, so glass installers, and work in that realm with metal as well, and they're fiercely loyal to Milwaukee, and it's probably because their boss was loyal to it, and that's what they grew up on. But it brings up a question for HART: is the brand mostly used in homes? Is it used on job sites?
Yeah, it's mostly homes. We kind of have this expression of the prosumer, so somebody who's a consumer but might do side jobs. It's certainly very capable for that. But we would say, a serious DIYer is going to be very happy in our brand. And if you start there, anybody that doesn't use the tools frequently is also obviously going to be very happy because the performance is going to be there. And then the really unique thing is like we have an opportunity through innovation and all these other things, we've got the opportunity to connect to the customer in different ways and in different areas. So if you think about the vacuum category, what if you have a 20-volt stick vac, which we do. So you have a lot of different traffic for somebody who might not be buying a drill, but you can get them into that platform different ways. We've got jackets that you can plug your battery into, and they have heating elements. So you have heated jackets, so you can have a sporting goods or tailgating type thing.
Right.
So we're trying to connect to the customer a lot of ways, and the more ubiquitous we can be across categories where our brand and the battery platform makes sense, it ties it all back, and it all, again, back to Walmart. So I had a great experience with the stick vac. What else can I use this battery on? And I may not be a tool head and never want a powered tool, but now I realize that.
But you're going to need to hang a picture at some point.
Yeah, or you know what? I like to not have to go to the gas station every time my tires drop 5 psi, so I can buy an inflator that I can pop this battery in and just keep it in my garage, and it's the same battery that works on for us, about 120 tools.
You had mentioned a minute ago data in the context of looking at data for product innovation. In a category like power tools, where it's not tracked in Nielsen IRI, what do you use for data to understand, the retail market in general, not just Walmart or Lowe's or whomever?
Yeah, there's usually it's a napkin math sort of approach a lot. We back into things a lot of different ways, and I'd say it's like for the one we do use from a share perspective is TrackLine, and it's directional, but it does help us understand, are we seeing more customers at Walmart? Are we seeing more customers in our platform with HART than maybe previous brands that they had? So it's good directionally. In terms of the market size itself, we have a pretty good indication of what it is because we have a large business at Home Depot, or at least a good position. And that helps us sort of triangulate some stuff. But as Amazon goes and Lowe's, Menards, list could go on, it's really, really hard to get to. And then you get into a situation where, well, what is our market? What are we trying to define the market as? Is it the consumer market where somebody doesn't use this in their trade? Okay, that's great. But the problem is we think about, I don't say a percent, but a large part of our sales for Milwaukee come from people who just want to have the cool stuff, the best stuff. So if you have a big part of your industrial business, which we would then say is the pro, but if a big part of that is just people who have potentially a little bit more income or want really good things, so now are they considered consumer or not? And it's interesting, we sort of sometimes want to just look past it, like how much does it matter? I mean, you do want to measure how your performance has been and ultimately determine if the things you're doing are successful. So TrackLine's our best indicator on that. But in terms of understanding the market size, I'd be interested to hear two perspectives on it, because I think it can matter for sure, because you want to know how big is big and what you can go chase. But if our goal is to connect with the customers that are in Walmart today, can we double share? Sure. Like, how much does that ultimately represent in dollars? I don't know.
Well, when you're disrupting, I mean, you're redefining what can be. So just seeing where it's been doesn't necessarily indicate. I remember buying vitamins. At the time, Nielsen didn't capture any of the specialty food. There was no e-com, natural channel, and those were the areas.
Was that 60% of the market?
That's where all the growth was. And so when it showed like, hey, you're up more than the rest of the market, it's like, well, I'm up more than the rest of the market that you're tracking, and that's a benevolent but ignorant pat on the back, saying you should feel comfortable. And actually, I shouldn't feel comfortable, because Walmart was way behind from what it should be, and we went chasing after it. And fortunately, a couple of those theories were true, and we were able to unlock some significant growth. Walmart in this category was way behind. And to your point, some of that's changing batteries, not quite dialed into how the customer sees this over time. TTI's kind of promise of like, we're not going to abandon past customers who've made the choice to invest, seems very powerful over time. I love seeing the focus on the really, really deep, dynamic data you get by, Walmart called it CBWA, coaching by walking around, actually visiting people. You get a lot of really deep context, and that triangulation. You take that, you take some rest of market, take some actual performance. With Walmart Luminate, you've got access to now more data than anyone really has had before to understand how people are operating and how they're moving, shifting over time. How do you use those stories? What have you seen? Whether Newell, J&J, now at HART, taking data and using it effectively to help build confidence in the depth of a customer theory, and then how it might scale.
Yeah, I think Luminate's probably a good starting point on that, because it is new to us, and I think the information in there is extremely relevant, and how we're going to use it is going to sort of evolve. We're only a couple months into it, but it's been really interesting to understand, as an example, penetration. So we know Walmart's traffic or their customer base has grown, and what percent of those customers are certain categories or departments attracting and earning their business. Is that as a percent growing or shrinking? And those are things to us that indicate a little bit of the awareness, either issues
Yeah.
or opportunities or successes that we've had. So that's where we've started to lean in on is you've got the general population coming into Walmart, and the general population buys our stuff. So if we can just figure out how to tell more of them that you sell really great tools, then we think we've got an opportunity to attract them early. We had this conversation this week with Walmart, and I thought it was a really good point that that one of our senior merchants brought up. But he just said, we're really focused on the young family, because if we can get them early, then their journey is going to be with us for a long time. And I mean that all feels really obvious.
Yeah. It's hard to go backwards once you've got that
Yeah.
Ryobi battery pack.
That's right. But the fact that we can see that now and measure it, now we
Yeah.
can understand, okay, well, how do we determine to how can we do better? What are those things that we have to go do together? And quite frankly, that's where we have I'd say a pretty unique partnership with Walmart, where we're trying to hold each other accountable to attracting those customers. And in, a traditional sense, Walmart's a house of brands, and because we have everything, you just come on over and we'll have what you need. I don't need to promote a particular brand. You don't very often see at a national level Walmart supporting any particular brand, right? They're staying on message with their EDLC, save money, live better, and that's great. We're not used to that, so we're kind of learning that Walmart's not going to change. And you think about any Depot TV ad you've ever seen, you probably would be really hard pressed to see them do a commercial without Ryobi in it. I mean, they are interconnected, and we're not going to have that. So how do we talk?
Which makes sense, because the customer that has bought into Ryobi can only get it at
Right.
Home Depot.
And at Depot, if you're walking into that store for almost anything, you probably own a power tool. So
Yeah.
it's fundamental to their success that tools and paint and all those other, sort of core categories that are attainable. Like, they're not going to go talk about, some of their lumber that might be, unique for building a certain home or something like that. That's not going to attract the customer the same way, but that's who their customer is. We certainly have a unique challenge at Walmart with, we've got I shouldn't say rise above the noise, but they're a different merchant. So we have to think about how do we, within that general merchandise environment, how do we attract and get customers aware of our brand. And maybe more importantly, from a category perspective, and this is the challenge to us in Walmart, is how do we get more people aware of the category? And that starts with, for us, trust. That's where we came in with HART, was because I think collectively we felt like, along with Walmart, there may have been some trust issues, whether that was because they had changed platforms and the customer didn't trust that they could stay into a Walmart brand, that they could get those batteries and tools for later. There was also, you could argue, there was some questionable quality things going on. I mean, I think most of that's way in the rearview mirror. Walmart's done a great job with quality, really since I've been calling on them.
Oh,
It's been such a focus.
I remember even just trying to get someone to buy an organic herbal supplement. If we're selling scissors that break, the third day you're using them, you're not going to trust something that you have such an intimate relationship with. You're putting it in your body. And I think that's been true, which is why the step change and the focus on not just price, but value.
Yeah.
And trust being our most valuable, Walmart's most valuable asset.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, in terms of like what might be a unique part of our partnership with Walmart, I would say the quality thing is a really interesting one for me, because I'd never done this in my past. But we meet quarterly with their quality team that leads Hardlines, and we have people specifically in the D11 tool space, but we also meet with their other departments they're in. So we have these quarterly meetings, and we review a lot of things. We don't just review reviews online. We don't just review the defective and return rates. We look at latest reviews. So if you think about a product that launches, what are the first 100 reviews they get? Well, they're bought and paid for.
Right.
So you got to look at and so there's that. There's like, okay, you always have bought and paid for reviews that are early. So now an item's been in market for 18 months. You got to look at the last 6 months or last year to get those organic reviews. Okay, let's talk about an item that's been in the market for 3 years. Has quality shifted up or down? So what might be, if you look at the amount of reviews on an item, 2/3 of them might be more than a year old. And so you got to look at the more recent ones to determine, has there been a change in quality?
Otherwise, you keep reviewing the same reviews.
That's right.
Do you ever go after customers that, bought it 3 years ago and ask them to give a review?
We can a little bit, but you also can't right now with Walmart. I mean, there's no way to connect back to a customer to ask them to put a review in if it's an organic buy. And in fact, one of the things that we're still trying to figure out with Walmart is if somebody leaves a negative review, and let's say it's an honest and it's a legitimate review, we would like them to reach out to our customer service to solve it. And we also find sometimes negative reviews are not applicable to the product quality. Like, hey, this thing didn't ship. It was supposed to be here in 2 days and I didn't get it.
Right.
And we have 1 star for that. So how can we remove that? I don't know. That's not really my concern as much as let's talk to the customer, and we can't do that. You can close the loop on Amazon and get back in touch with those customers. Would like to be able to do more of that with Walmart, and I would think we'd get there eventually. But
Yeah, close that loop is powerful.
yeah, and with WMC, there are certainly opportunities to close the loop and target the right audience.
Yeah.
So I think there's more opportunities to talk to them about the new stuff, but you're not engaging them to share their experiences.
If they happen to be a customer perception panelist, you could actually survey those that bought something a couple of years ago, but
that's actually an interesting question. I do wonder on that customer perception if you could target people who have left reviews.
you absolutely can. Yeah.
Oh, all right. I just learned
But
something.
talk to your Walmart.
I should have brought a
people.
pen. I'll have to listen to my own podcast to remember this.
So speaking of reviews, and you'd mentioned earlier, how do we tell more of this general population that's in Walmart that Walmart sells great tools? Kind of leads into omni-channel. What impact has Omni had to your business, going from purely a brick and mortar to now an e-com and brick and mortar environment? And is that a vehicle for making that message to the shoppers?
Yeah. I think I don't want to say it's the message, but it's a very, very core fundamental to how we're going to be able to talk to our customer. I mean, in-store merchandising is, depending on who you talk to, it's pretty minimal effect. And so in terms of like how it shifted, I'll start with that one. When we first started, we had 3 people dedicated to Walmart.com. And that was setting up items and helping with getting products seated in the reviews, but it was also what goes into the FCs, what goes onto DSV and all these other things. I shouldn't say the problem, but the evolution of the merchant was that got rolled in. So now we have merchants that are doing both, and my team calling on them, like, are we doing any good? That conversation flows between brick and mortar and .com, and every time it goes to .com, we're like, well, hold on, that's not me. I got to have you talk to somebody else.
Right.
So what we ultimately decided to do was to merge that as well. Like, we've got to our responsibilities have to mirror the merchants. We got to make it easy for them. We don't need them to have to navigate complexities within our business. So we change our business model and the way we're structured to support them in a better way. So we are now omni sales people, and that's the way that we're going to have to be. And depending on the size of the business, and like that model doesn't exist really anywhere else for us within TTI.
Okay.
So we have to sometimes do a little bit more, or
Some
not
unique-
have we don't have the like functional expertise set up. And so my team, and we're kind of evolving this, but like my team does item 360, and we don't create the content, we get it from marketing, but we're uploading all of that and stuff. And so does that make us use a lot of time on those activities? Yes, but it also makes us very connected to the process and to understanding what is meaningful, what's impactful, not just with the merchants, but ultimately with the customers. Like what content makes sense? This video did great. We're seeing really good results from that. So it's definitely gotten us more informed and makes our relationship with the buyers I don't know if it's stronger, but certainly, more relevant and faster.
And buyer or not, we know now that shoppers, particularly on products that are $100, $150, even $50, for in-store purchases, 60-ish% of the time, if not more, they're doing research on .com before they make that in-store purchase. So it really is one consistent message.
Well, and if we're running into a recession, that also picks up during a recession. You're going to scrutinize where you're spending dollars, and so again, more research. So even if you're selling products to Walmart that are much lower than those price points, it still matters a lot on the journey. They can find it, transact.
Well, and I think that's the interesting part where we've been able to work, I think, well with our marketing team and challenge Walmart's marketing team to think differently is where does the customer start that search process? And I think arguably Google is a top place to start. So if somebody searches drill, what's going to come up? If someone searches HART drill, what's going to come up? And that's where we have to win. We may not win the drill search every time because other retailers or other brands might be spending a lot of money to make sure they win that spot. But if somebody searches a HART drill, the last thing we want for anything to come up is for a customer to go anywhere but Walmart, because you can only get it at Walmart. So we got to make sure that we're able to do that. And then ultimately, we all have limited resources, Walmart included. So, who's responsible for that? I mean, Walmart would love us to pay for that. We'd love Walmart to pay for that. But that's part of the partnership challenge and opportunity that we have with them, which is, hey, let's think about how you use your exclusive brand. How are you investing into it? And let us not overlap and be redundant.
Right.
Because honestly, if you're both bidding on the same things, all you're doing is driving up the cost, right, for ourselves. So we're trying to do things very purposefully. And if it doesn't start with good communication and alignment on who's going to own what in terms of those activations and where you're supporting the brand, then you're going to be running in the wrong direction a lot of times. So that's where, again, I think we have a really unique opportunity to get better, but also very proud of what we have today, which is, a lot of relationships in a lot of different functional areas within Walmart that a lot of suppliers don't do, whether because they just don't think to do it, or maybe they don't have the access. So we're very lucky that we get to talk to Walmart inside of different functions that most companies typically would not.
I love
So
the
quality.
quality discussion, right? And being able to get ahead of where are we building, where are we waning on customer trust? Massive category disruption, and you were there from the beginning. So, I mean, talk to us, talk to our listeners about, all right, what's it look like to start off on a journey to disrupt a category in a significant way?
Yeah.
You guys went from 0 to, I think you said 120 items on that 20 volt or?
Yeah. So we had 0 items at Walmart in 2019, and we launched over a period of really only 3 or 4 weeks. At the beginning of 2020, we launched 350 items. So I'd say in terms of scale of launch,
that's a lot.
It's a lot, right? And there's items.
That's some pretty significant disruption.
And an interesting time to launch 300 items is
you planned that
right
real-
when COVID.
Yeah, well
when
planned.
COVID. Although the DIY
I'll start with
there.
all that. So, I think here's what's really cool that I've learned that's been very different for me than other companies I've worked for is we are very customer focused. And I'm not talking the Walmart customer. Yes, we are that too, by the way. But we are absolutely focused on making sure Walmart is serviced better than we want them to look back on their experience with us and say, no one's ever moved as fast. No one ever invests the way that you do into our business to support us. And so that focus on winning with Walmart, because you got to win with them if you're going to win with their customers. We are relentless. It is inexcusable to let anything linger with Walmart, to not air it out, to not move fast and move forward. And that's very different than other places I've been. In the past, you're protecting your brand and you're trying to be very careful about what the market implications would be if Walmart decided to do something different. And we have the good fortune of we don't care. Heart's nowhere else. What are you going to do? We're not upsetting anybody because we've got to win at Walmart. So if you think back to when we got the go forward from Walmart, and we started to understand the scale of the items that would be included in that launch. What it took on our side was a lot of work, obviously, and coordination. But as an example, we had to work 24 hours a day, and I mean that very literally, to
Oh, yeah.
deliver. So we delivered all of these items in less than a year. And these are brand new items with motors, UL certifications. It's complex. Everybody's businesses are complex. This
Right.
one as well. And so what we would do, like as an example, we would have a team, our engineering team, working 10 to 12 hours on the development, and they would have a 1 hour handoff to an engineering team in China. And the engineering process was working 24 hours a day
Oh,
for a
man.
period
Wow.
of time. And so we resourced that because we were absolutely committed to doing this on time with quality. And I just never seen anything like it. The amount of investment, not just money, time, the focus, that relentless desire to sort of do it perfect. It was really eye-opening for me because you just don't get that with other companies because they're in the market. They want to sell to everybody typically. And so it started to make me understand this is what it takes to develop a relationship with a retailer, with that type of customer, is such a focus to win with them and to support them, as
Yeah.
opposed to, no, you guys need my brand because I'm doing this national launch. And if you don't have this
Right.
item on an end cap,
It's
when I
totally
do this
different.
commercial, I mean, your customers are going to call your CEO and tell them how frustrated they are. Never, right? Like that's not real. Although that was the message you would always push, and you took it personally if they didn't want to support your new insight that was data delivered. It was now more about, hey, what do you need? Let's go. And we have to say no to a lot of things. And there's still things today Walmart wants us to do that might not make sense. There's things we want to do with Walmart that they're going to have to say no to. But ultimately, once we're aligned, we move really, really fast, and we're fully focused on making sure that we're successful.
I know we're talking about category growth, but something just stood out to me that kind of off topic, but for the engineers to work during the day here in the U.S. and then hand it off in the evening to China, and then it's back and forth. That's a collaborative process.
Mhm.
So there's no silos in that. There's sharing. There's non-possessiveness.
Yep.
Is that a kind of a core part of the company of
Yes.
TTI?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unapologetically, we try to reduce all bureaucracy. We empower people to move really fast. That does create and force a lot of communication, but I would say I've never been in a place where didn't have to worry about getting approval for things the way I have. Like we have a lot of autonomy to make decisions quickly, and ultimately, though, that does take a lot of collaboration because if I'm going to make a quick decision, I have to let a lot of people know what that
Mhm.
decision was so
Mhm.
that they can be involved and do what part of their process is in that decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, so collaborative, yes, very much so. But at the same time, we're try to reduce all those redundancies and kind of overlap of meetings to kind of gain consensus and things like that. We're really wanting to move fast. So yes, collaborative, but at the same time, we have a lot of autonomy to move.
It's awesome. So from 0 to over 350 items in, a year. From Walmart, maybe not seriously in these categories, to taking a stand to be in the power tool business and to have what you need for the pro and the semi-pro is how I'd like to refer to it.
Are you pro or semi, Charles?
For sure, like less than semi, the
Semi-amateur.
under that, but have that sort of deep loyalty. When I saw this program coming out, I was like, I'm buying HART products. I got to figure out, what do I need? Let's go to the store and buy it. And at the time, still at Walmart, and I felt like, yeah, guys, you guys have to try this stuff out. And I've been blown away. Like, it's been really good quality, although I don't use them enough to say I'm a great tester.
Well, I think one of the things, though, speaking of buying into the program early and stuff. I think we were starting to talk a little bit about it was the whole pandemic timing on our launch, right? So to go into that a little bit, we had, I guess it was week 53, tools launched, and depending on the region, our outdoor business kind of launched on either side of that. And it was week 8, somewhere in that time period, the world stopped.
Right.
And we're
March.
sitting here thinking, okay, we've got the stores set, we're feeling pretty good, we got to watch sales, we're going to market the crap out of this thing. And then the world just stopped. And then obviously you fast forward not only into 2020, into 2021, we couldn't make enough stuff. And we were again, going back to like, how do we service the customer? If you think about the customer being Walmart, or even the customer in the store or online, one of the things for us in the magic, which we've already talked about, is you've got to get them into the system. So if they come to the store, they go online and the product is not available, and they go somewhere else, we've lost that customer potentially forever. So our sort of focus on service is nothing like I've ever seen before. But in the time of 2020 and particularly 2021, the amount of air freight and things we would do to ensure that we were meeting Walmart's demands was incredible. It was a little more affordable because you had great sales, and so all that kind of helps. But that was another example of, I've never seen a company move so fast. And if we would do these, we call them ladder plans, where you're kind of looking outward on your forecast and your POS and what's Walmart going to order. The minute we would see something, the question would come up, can we air freight this? And the approval process on that in some companies might take weeks, maybe longer. It would take minutes. Go, we're done. And it was just a yes. And most of it was just because we weren't going to say no to anything. We were building a brand, and we saw this. I don't want to call the pandemic a windfall, but in terms of consumption, we had to capitalize on that.
Well, it's a known thing that vacations got canceled and DIY took off.
Absolutely.
So a lot of consumers came into the tool market for the first time, or maybe in a meaningful way, and you had the opportunity to capture them for the rest of their life or lose them for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and as we look at market share since we've launched, we've seen some good momentum, and that I think is largely in part to the fact that we recognized really, really early on that we had to support that. And one of the things we haven't talked about today, but we have a field team, so it's really our leadership development program. So if you want to start with TTI, you typically start in the field, calling on stores, and it connects you to what the customers care about. It connects you to how the retailers, the last 100 feet, like what's that all about? How does a product move from the back room to the shelf, and what is the associate's experience with on hands? And like the people that come in to our organization that were part of that leadership development program are great. And I've got people on my team that are from our Home Depot side, and I've got people on my team from the Walmart that were actually part of the HART launch. And the insights they give me as their manager is incredible. Like, I can't tell you how many times even myself or even a Walmart buyer might say, hey, what would, when you were talking to customers, when you guys were in stores, what do customers think about X, Y, and Z? It's so meaningful. I mean, there's no greater truth than the customer's opinion, because
they don't sugarcoat it.
They don't sugarcoat it. No, they do not. And so our ability to get leadership through that has been, really fundamental. But in terms of like the pandemic time, our ability to intercept customers in the aisle and teach them about this brand new program that was going to be there forever.
Right.
That was great. We could also educate the Walmart associates, because the Walmart associates have seen the same thing that the customers have. And by the way, almost every associate is a Walmart customer.
Right.
And so those are people we had to win with. We had to not win with them just in POS. We love it when associates buy our products, but we had to make sure that they evangelized for us, because as great as our field team is, they're not in stores every day. They're not able to talk to every customer in the aisle and ensure that they really recognize that there's a difference between potentially the two brands that are on the shelf. Which one's going to give them the best long-term ability to have a great experience on their current project, but build out from there with other tools. If an associate knows that, they're not going to have them go anywhere but HART. So we're building advocates in the store with our team as well.
Yeah. The themes I'm hearing, it's customer trust, focus on that customer, lots of customer obsession, both on the retailer as a partner, but also as you're thinking about the actual experience for the customer in the store, online. As you look back at, possibly one of the most disruptive, large scale launches within Walmart, and you look at the future, think of people you've been able to work with in the past on the supplier side and merchant side. Like, what are some of the takeaways you have that you're going to do differently in the future based off of that experience?
Yeah, I think for us, one of the tough learnings has been what does Walmart's run rate look like, and what items are going to resonate with the customer. So those are always the things you're evolving. We've made a lot of bets that have not paid off, but we've made a lot of bets that really have. And so I think honing in on what's the type of value that they're looking for. Do they compare these tools to the market, or are they comparing it to things next to them on the shelf? I think we're learning it's more the latter. So yeah, you got to win online, but it's not like you're comparing HART to HART. I mean, HART's only at Walmart, so you're comparing HART to maybe Craftsman. Okay, that's possible, but what we find more is they're comparing HART to Walmart's brand that might be there, or another tool or something like that. So we've got to make sure that we're not just always running the same play that you might see a home center run, because we've got a very unique set of circumstances. And the example I always share, whether it's with Walmart or my own team, is at Walmart, HyperTough is their brand, and it's not just opening price point. I mean, of course it is, but they're focused on making that a good quality proposition for their customers. So we have to compete with that. At the home centers, whether it's Craftsman or Ryobi, that's their HyperTough. That's where they start. So you think about AUR and all these other things. So, but it's really about the customer. So if a customer walks into a home center, if they're going to buy OPP, which we know from a unit perspective in any category, that's usually where the volume is. Yeah. Maybe not the dollars, but certainly the unit volume. If you're going to go to a Lowe's, I like to use them because I don't want to talk about my own company and get in trouble there, but your starting point is Craftsman, and those retails are the highest retails at Walmart. So we just have to win differently. We have to tell the customer about the quality differences, the performance differences, the amount of tools that you can get into. So we've got to attract customers a much different way. And I think
some people are surprised that Walmart is different.
I know,
but you've had some experience and are able to make sure. No, you have to understand the context in which you're selling, and Walmart's a different beast than Sam's. Certainly different than home centers. And
I think for us too, we would lean heavily on our home center experience. And so when they were setting up the team here, I think one of the best things we did was had the foresight to recognize you have to have a local team, because Walmart is so different. Yeah. Not just their customer, but how do you talk to them? How do you interact? How do you, collaborate with merchants or the quality team or the marketing team? Completely different. So, It's really important to have people here that understand what's important to Walmart, and that's the only way you can win. So I think that's the thing we probably did right, is we developed a really great team here early on.
Love it.
I don't want to get too much into our leadership, but I think they have some really great connections, not just within Walmart, but within the community, that have allowed us to tap into really good talent. So we feel, really, really fortunate to have the team we have, but a lot of that comes with an element of experience, because you have to sort of know how to navigate that. And then we infuse it with our leadership development program. So those are two things that have been really helpful for us, because we have a really great foundational knowledge of Walmart stores, the customer use, the things they're looking for when they're doing projects, and we can bring that into a professional selling environment. And then you have people like me who, can teach people how to do VLOOKUPs.
Yeah, get it. Got to have some Excel wizardry on your way.
Right.
What's your favorite power tool?
Great question. I have probably a couple different ones, and they tend not to be the core ones. I love our core tools. They're really great. I'd throw two out there that are kind of, for me, fun. We have a portable power sprayer, vehicle sprayer. Charles has also bought one. And the beauty is
awesome.
you can hook it up to your hose, or you can dip it into a lake and it will siphon out.
Oh,
And
wow.
so for us, we like to mountain bike. So if you go on a mountain bike adventure and your bike's dirty at the end of it, you can throw it into the creek and just wash your bike right there. And I think the versatility of that is amazing. That's kind of a fun one. And there's also another automotive one. We have inflators. And so you just think about cold weather and the your tire pressures go down and you get the warning indicator. So just being able to pump your tires up in 5 seconds at home without having to go to a gas station.
Without standing out in
Those
the
are
rain or
incredible.
the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's the blower, an electric blower, because we use that to clean out the garage, blow off the deck, and with a gas, like I'm gonna have to shower immediately because you just smell so much like gas. Now I just smell kind of stinky, but not like gas, thanks to the Do It With Heart.
Yeah, that's a
electric
topic
blower.
we didn't get into. Maybe for the next time, unless
time.
you want to talk more about gas. But yeah, I mean, a big part of our platform is the zero emissions part, which is pretty fun. And I think I'll say here's another one of my favorite items. Although it's
A third?
it's,
Okay.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we've got a riding lawnmower.
Do you
It's
really?
80 volt. We have a couple battery platforms primarily. 40 volt is one that does more of the mowers and some of the bigger blowers if you need a little more power. But we do have one riding lawnmower, and if the blades aren't engaged, it's as quiet as a golf cart. It's silent, and it never needs gas. You don't need to store or winterize.
How long does the charge last?
I do my yard. I'm on about an acre, probably mow about a half of an acre, and then I mow the lot and my neighbor's yard. I mow the yard for them as well, and I have no issues getting through that. So I think it'll do up to like 3/4 of an acre. I'd have to probably fact check that claim, but the beauty is it's like almost silent, and then when the blade's running, it sounds maybe a little louder than a box fan. And so just noise pollution is something that we're completely reducing.
Plus, you can listen to this podcast while you're mowing.
That's right.
Without
But
blowing
it
out
is,
your eardrums.
I think in terms of that greater aspiration to reduce emissions, I mean, California's already going there. You're not going to be able to buy a gas pressure washer in California next year. So those are things that are just going to have to move in that direction. But it's interesting, and I would just say, take a look down your street. I mean, you're probably starting to see a lot less gas
Absolutely.
mowers, a lot less gas blowers. And
So come to Walmart, get a HART
That's right.
electric mower. It's going to be a great value, and it's going to last a long time, and they're not going to swap the battery on you.
Yep.
And your neighbors will thank you.
Your
Cutting
neighbors,
down noise pollution.
You can mow at 3 a.m. or 9 p.m. and you won't.
Yeah.
No one will even know you're doing it.
which is super weird.
It is kind of weird,
Yeah.
and they've got lights on them.
They have lights on.
That's awesome.
All right, let's get to the lightning round here. What's on your reading list?
Well, that's a great one. I just read Rick Rubin's new book, Creative Act, and that was so cool. In fact, I bought a couple books and sent them to some of our leadership just because
Love it.
I equated that to breakthrough leadership. And, part of it is very artist based, but Rick Rubin is very, very cool dude. And if you ever have seen him or heard him, his approach to creativity is very unique. And I'd say that book is, even for a business person, which I don't love business books as maybe some of others, but that was one of my favorite books I've read, and maybe one of the few times I've gone and bought one to gift. It's a really cool book.
Awesome. What do you do to relax? Sounds like you mountain bike and you read Rick Rubin.
Yeah. I've got 3 kids, and they are pretty self-sufficient. We do have a daughter with special needs, and so like we're just outside all the time because she's in a wheelchair. So like our happy place is being outside, and that's always kind of been my thing. And I'm fortunate to have a wife that does the same thing. And so we have every minute we can, we're either walking, or if I can be biking or skiing. I've been lucky enough to have a group of friends. We've got a text chain with about 30 people on it. Charles is on it as well.
Yep. Old men struggling.
It used to be old men shredding, and then I decided to break a collarbone.
We've
in 4 ribs.
downgraded
Yeah.
to struggle.
So that's snow skiing or water?
Snow skiing,
Snow
yeah.
skiing,
So just anything outdoors, it's just absolutely calls me, and it's a great brain drain to just get rid of daily stress, but really connect with something that's pretty special. And
Yeah.
living where we do, I mean, my goodness, like
Yeah.
you just couldn't have more access to it.
When is the HART e-bike coming out?
Yeah,
Can't talk about that. Okay.
yeah. We will not be making one.
No e-bike. Okay.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for coming out today. It's been great to get to know you a little bit and to hear what HART has done and is doing to the power tool category at Walmart.
Yeah, appreciate that. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. And as always, thank you all for joining us on the retail journey. You are invited to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Also, we'd love for you to reach out to us either through our website or on LinkedIn. Give us your thoughts, suggestions, comment on the things you've heard here today. And you can find all of our episodes on our website at highimpactanalytics.com. Thank you.